Hello! I just realised that the footage at the start of this video where I explained what the video is isn't working for some reason. So hi, here's a little future me whilst I was editing to tell you what's going on. I want to do more book reviews this year and talk more about the books that I'm reading. But because I'm currently in the middle of doing my second master's degree, I feel just completely swamped with work and things. So I am doing this thing where at night time, making the most of my bedtime, getting in my comfy pajamas and being on my bed and just kind of doing this kind of mini like sleepover style video where we can all get into comfies, get into bed, get a nice hot drink, and we can all chill and just talk about that book. And there's no pressure. It's just a little sleepover. Hey friends, be chill, be in bed, be comfy, and talk about books. So this is what that video is. Let's talk about Magnolia Parks. This is what I've wanted to be talking about all week because I binged it and I've almost finished the whole series. I'm literally on book 5. So legitimately was just expecting like some cute rom-com like romance book when it came to Magnolia Parks. That's like kind of not what I got. I mean that in a really good way. Like obviously if it had been just a romance book I'd have loved it. I think I still would have fallen in love with these characters, but I actually think the depth and everything that Jessa Hastings has put into these books is actually quite phenomenal and a really interesting conversation and commentary on high lives and socialites and high society. And if you can see it when you're in Magnolia's head, the way that like money is used and the way that the high society and everything is used, like it's so well done. Like they have literally the wealth of like they have so much wealth just at their feet, just there wherever they want, whenever they want. These people own private planes, and yet the like messiness and the rawness of everything and how money can actually quite buy you the things in life that you actually need, and that there's this thing where you know everything's for show, but actually the things that you want, the things that you need, the way that you feel, those things can't be purchased. I think that this is something kind of one of my favorite scenes in this is when they're talking about when they were at boarding school and everything they did for each other when parents would forget birthdays and send them away and not care about what they were doing, and they all kind of banded together to make sure that everyone knew that they had a family. I really liked that, and I think that's really nice, and you kind of can see that all of these people come together and are there for each other, and I really liked that, how they are just this like solid unit, which I really love and really like the whole group, to be quite honest. Christian took a while as a character to grow on me. I like him a lot better after I read the second Daisy Hates book. Me 10 years ago, I would like not touched a book that involved cheating like in any way. Like I was just like, I'm not going near it. I was like, this is just not going to be something I'll enjoy because it's this really black and white thing, and I'm like not going near it and don't want to talk about it, don't want to read it, don't want to engage with it. And like I still like cheating is shitty. I would never do it and would never want it to be something that was done to me. It's a shitty thing. The thing that I really liked, which I feel like people don't explore a lot in books, is trauma responses and how these trauma responses can actually be like sometimes the worst thing that you can imagine, and that you can't fathom yourself doing the thing, but you do it in the trauma response because you're in a trauma response. And I said I was only going to talk about book 1, but I've read them all now. Wow, almost, and I know why VJ cheated, but obviously at the time I didn't. I could sort of like infer that there was stuff going on underneath, but I didn't like fully clock like you know what it was until book 3, when he tells Magnolia. And I want to talk about it like just the thing that I think's done really well, whilst not getting into like book 3 spoiler territory, even though this is technically a spoiler for book 3. I am someone that has had a lot of trauma in my life, and something that I find really difficult is things that I did in the trauma. Thankfully, it wasn't anything like this, but like I didn't look after myself, I didn't look after my environment, I didn't look after my space. Like I was really like messy and dirty. Like I didn't hoover, I didn't clean. Like I spent money when I shouldn't have spent money. Like it was just like shitty. Like I was just in this headspace where I was dissociating, and it was a response to the trauma that I had been facing. When you come out of that, when you come out of that trauma response and you look at basically the shit show that you've made of your life, it is really difficult to wrap your mind around the fact that you did that, that you were capable of doing that. You're the one that has to pick up the pieces of this thing that you don't recognize yourself as doing, which is really hard. And you have to take accountability because ultimately it was you that did the things, and you have to kind of like come to terms with that. I really actually appreciated the exploration of the fact that BJ was going through a lot of trauma, and this was his trauma response. In no way does it defend the behavior. Like I'm not saying that like he should be forgiven immediately and excused, and I completely understand Magnolia's like struggle to forgive him and come to terms with that. And I also absolutely 100% believe that he should have told her who it was with. Like that should have been something that was not kept like over the thing like all those years. Like both of them should have told her who it was. I think that was shitty, and I think that Magnolia, whilst she does love to hop on a plane and run away, she was completely justified in being pissed off about that, because I think if you'd come to the terms and being like, well, I've forgiven you, and then finding out that, then I would be furious. Like, and I would be so furious with Pally, the fact that she like let Magnolia think it was Tara, and like all of like that would just fuck me off. I think it's an interesting trauma conversation, to acknowledge that trauma can make you behave in ways that you hate and that you wouldn't see yourself as behaving. And I think that it's important to acknowledge that and to talk about that. And I actually think that's something that Jessa Hastings does really well. And it's something that I think that more things should explore. Like, again, it's not an excuse for behaviour. Trauma does not excuse shitty behaviour, but trauma can cause shitty behaviour. And it's really complex and messy and horrible and raw and really just awful. And I think that it's good when that's explored, because we get to see what it can do, and the impact of that. So again, not defending the cheating, completely understand Magnolia's stress and everything that she went through and everything that came with that. But yeah, I think the exploration of trauma is really good. I also really like Magnolia. I just like being inside her head sometimes. I am like, I just vibe with this. She thinks in like the most chaotic ways, but so do I. And I can really see like her thought patterns with certain situations just mimic mine. And I don't know if that's particularly healthy, but I'm like, babe, same. And I kind of feel a bit validated. I really like Henry. Henry is my favourite. I love Henry so much. Do you know what? If I'm going to ever fall in love with a fictional man, it's always going to be a Henry. It's always a Henry. Like, I don't think it's ever not been a Henry. And the thing that I really liked about this is that none of these characters are painted as perfect people. There is like just an inherent messiness to the whole situation, which I think is really important to acknowledge sometimes. Like, people are not perfect. People can be shitty and crap and awful and not know how to behave in certain situations, and kind of if you're dealing with your life just being completely shredded at your feet, like it can be just awful and you don't know how to deal with that. And I thought that this was really good. Like, at no point is any character deemed perfect. Like, every character is flawed. Every character's flaw is really clear and obvious, and they wear it on their sleeves whether they want to or not, but they do. And I really like that. Like, I really appreciate that. I really like that. I love Bridget. I really just, the way that her and Magnolia are like chalk and cheese, and the way that they balance each other out is just lovely. And I really like seeing sibling dynamics like that, where they are so different, but they just really, really, really come together, and they are each other's person and unit and rock. And I really love their whole relationship and Bridget as a character, and just the way that they just drive each other insane. I think that's lovely. I'm almost 30, so these characters are a bit younger than me, but the thing that I'm realizing the older I get is that like we're all messy. Like we are all a fucking mess. It takes a long time for us to kind of really figure out who we are and what we're doing, and we make loads of mistakes along the way, and it can be really frustrating when you're making them and you're looking back and you're not realizing like what you're doing, kind of thing. But I do genuinely just think like as a society, as people, we are messy, and I think we need to not paint people as perfect. So much more refreshing when you have these characters who make mistakes. You can have friends who have like got your back like so solidly and they will still call you out on it. Like these friendships are realistic friendships. Like there's arguments, people are gonna call you out if you do shit that the other one doesn't like. Like that's important. I think those things are important in friendships. I think it's important to communicate. I'll argue some of the ones are a bit unhealthy. I think maybe BJ and Christian need to have a bit more of a chat, and Henry and Jonah as well. There's a few times where I was like, for fuck's sake, like when Jonah gave Henry the cocaine, I was like, what are you doing? Like, you know this whole history, like, what are you doing? There are moments where you are like, what are you doing? You want to kind of like slap them. And there's other moments where it's just this like really realistic and raw situation. It's how people live and who people are and how we interact, and I really like that. It's that we got to see BJ and Magnolia's perspective, and it was in certain situations that I thought was really good. Like it really fit. Everything we saw of Magnolia's perspective worked, and everything we saw from BJ's perspective worked, and kind of the way they are is really good. I really like the way the books are laid out, and I like that dynamic continues as the books go on as well. I think that that's done really well, and I really like the way that Jessa Hastings writes. Writing is really like matter of fact, like it's really to the point, but at the same time it's also really descriptive. I know that I literally spend like half of my life in central London, so I know the places and can make it make more sense in my head, but I did feel like it was really descriptive, and it did really help me in order to kind of like place together where they would be. And I really loved the descriptions of all of the places, even like places they go to eat, places they go to drink, all of the outfits. Like I thought it was really good. Such a clever way of being able to write very succinctly whilst also still being very descriptive and immersive. And I think that that's something that I don't see a lot of people talking about when it comes to these series. Like people talk about the characters and everything, which I've done for 10 minutes, but a lot of people haven't really spoken about the writing, and I just think the writing's done really well. Like it's very clever. I am loving Magnolia Parks. Like I said, I'm literally on book 5, so I'm like halfway through book 5, so I will hopefully be finishing that in the next couple of days. This series has taken me seriously by surprise. I was just expecting like a nice little romance, which I don't know what I like wanted, like that's why I sought it out, but what I've gotten is so much richer and deeper, and something I didn't know I needed right now, but actually really did, and has given me such interesting insights and so much to talk about and so much to think about. Like I cannot stop thinking about this series. I cannot stop thinking about these characters, the way the writing is. Like I was wrecked. Like, and I just think like it's done so well. Like for something to be able to stick with you so much and to just be so rooted in your head. Like these books have literally just like they have cemented themselves in my brain, and I think they're going to be there for a really long time. So I wanted to talk about it. I hope you liked the first episode of Booktube and Bed and Booktube, whatever the title's going to be. We will come up with it, and I'd love to know your thoughts if you've read Magnolia Parks and what did you think of it, and let's have a conversation. I will do this for the rest of the series if you want me to. If not, that's fine, and I will do this for other books as well if you want me to. If not, that's fine. Thank you guys for watching. Please let me know your thoughts on Magnolia Parks, book 1 and the whole series in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts. I really want to scream about this book with people that have read it. I don't know anyone IRL that has read it, so I need to scream about it. And as usual, all the links to my other social medias and my bookish podcast will be in the description as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're doing really well, and I'll see you next time.